Hello, English readers and English learners and book lovers. Welcome to episode 26 of the podcast Reading English. I'm Lydie Bureau and I'm an English teacher in France. I'm also the founder of Lydie's Book Club, a book club for English learners and book lovers. In this book club, I offer live readings of adaptations of classics of literature and live readings of contemporary novels in their original text. I mainly focus on female writers' work, whether English is their first or second language. So, 3 times a month, I meet the members of the book club in a live workshop via Zoom to discuss the chapters of the book that we are currently reading. And this month, November 2024, we are embarking on a new literary journey. We are going to read the A2 plus, so pre-intermediate Penguin Readers adaptation of The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton. So this is a classic of American literature. It was published in 1920 and was awarded a Pulitzer Prize in 1921 for its portrayal of New York's privileged society in the late 19th century. Edith Wharton was the first female writer to receive the Pulitzer Prize. So here is the adaptation of Penguin Readers. So here is what's inside. So you can have a look here. There's some pictures, some illustrations, sorry, like this one and here. So it's going to be an exciting literary journey, an exciting reading journey if you're learning, if you want to improve your reading skills in English and also your critical thinking skills and speaking skills as well. So now let's get to know more about Edith Wharton and her monumental literary legacy. So this is the adaptation, and here is the original text. So this is an Oxford Words Classics edition. So here, so you can see the difference between the original text here and the adaptation. So here it's the text inside. And here are some of my notes, quite a lot of my notes here. And I encourage you when you're reading to make annotations, because this is how you will improve your reading experience as well, and you will become a more active reader. And also it's very handy. It comes very handy when you are and when you want to go back to the book and you want to look for a particular passage. So it's very useful as well. So Edith Wharton, born Newbold Jones, was born in 1862 into a prominent family of old New York society. She had impeccable social credential and financial security. Her education was very privileged, with private tutors and access to an extensive reading library. Her early years alternated between houses in Manhattan during the winter and Newport over the summer. She traveled a lot throughout Europe with her parents, which helped her shape her intellectual development. She started writing verses and stories as a child, and in 1899 she finally broke into the literary scene with a collection of short stories. In 1902, she published her first novel, The Valley of Decision. But it's with The House of Mirth in 1905, and her critique of social norms and class constraints that she found success. And from this point, she published either novels, novellas, poetry, essays, or even travel literature, or also or architecture literature or books on an annual basis. So every year from 1905 until her death in 1937, she published a book or a collection of poems or short stories every year. And besides The House of Mirth, her best known works are Ethan From in 1911, The Reef, 1912, The Costume of the Country, 1913, which is a book about interior design. Then you have she published Summer in 1917 and The Age of Innocence in 1920, which won the Pulitzer Prize, as I mentioned earlier, in 1921 and made her the first female writer to receive it. Sorry. And winning the Pulitzer Prize extended her influence to countless generations of writers. Since then, her work has been adapted into several films and TV series. And the most famous one is Martin Scorsese's film adaptation, The Age of Innocence, using the same title in 1993, with an amazing cast, including Daniel Day-Lewis playing the main character, Newland Archer, Michelle Pfeiffer playing the Countess, and Winona Ryder, the young Winona Ryder who played May. In 1885, she married, Edith Wharton married Edward Wharton. Well, she was still at the time Newbold Jones, and she married Edward Wharton, but their childless union did not last. He cheated on her repeatedly, and soon after the marriage, they started living separate lives. It was only in 1913 that she was finally able to divorce him while she was already living in France. Yes, Wharton loved France. And as a French person, I was so pleased to know about this, know that she lived in France and first of all, that she enjoyed French literature and was influenced by French literature and culture. But I did not expect to find out that she finished her life in France. So her admiration for French culture and its literature was immense. Therefore, in 1910, she decided to move to France permanently. First, she settled in the center of Paris. I think she was around the Latin area, Quartier Latin, it's called. It's very close to the Sorbonne University. And right after the war, she moved to the countryside, where she bought an 18th century house in the northern suburb of Paris. The house is now called Le Pavillon Colombe, which is classified as an historical monument, but unfortunately, it is privately owned, so we cannot visit the place. And I was heartbroken when I learned this. Hopefully, at some point, one day it will be open to the public. But so far, if you have information, let me know. But so far, this place, well, Edith Wharton's house, former house, in the north of France, in the village of, well, now it's a town, in Saint-Brice-sous-Forêt, is not available, is not open to the public, unfortunately. Maybe one day we'll be able to visit it. She also bought a castle in Hyères in the French Riviera, so the south of France. And this way she would divide her life as she did when she was living with her parents in New York, in America, between these two residences until her life. So she would spend winter or maybe summer or winter in Paris and summer in yeah, in the castle. The castle is called Saint. Let me check. um, Saint Clarice, no, Saint Clair, and it's now the castle is used as an administrative place, and so there is nothing to visit in the building, but the garden are actually open to the public, and it's you can go there for free. So it's if you're in the south of France, if you're visiting the south of France and you go to Hyères, then I encourage you to visit the beautiful gardens of the former house of Edith Wharton. So she died in 1937 and she was buried in Versailles, and she is still buried in Versailles. So if you happen to be in Paris, then, or in Versailles more specifically, if you're visiting the Castle of Versailles, then I encourage you to take the time to maybe go to the cemetery nearby and visit and go to see um, the tomb of Edith Wharton. Wharton was a woman with many interests. She wrote on travel, gardening, architecture, as I mentioned earlier, and the war. During the First World War, she was very active in refugee work, which was reflected in several of her novels, stories, and essays. Before moving to France, um, she had lived in a house also called The Mount in Lenox in Massachusetts in America. And she had completely redesigned the house herself, inside and outside. And this former residence is now a museum and a significant landmark reflecting her architectural and design philosophies, which were very much inspired by European architecture. Wharton's intrigues are mainly focused on social observations, creating complex and multidimensional characters. She uses irony and satire to critique New York's elite society and to reflect the intricacies, the complexities of human behaviors belonging to that particular social class. And I had such an amazing time reading the original text, and you can feel the humor uh, throughout the novel. And actually, I made a little smiley face because um, she reminds me of Jane Austen when she uses satire or irony to describe the people and describe behaviors and social norms. So I find that Edith Wharton had the same eye to reflect on the society she lived in and or she grew up in. So that's so um, so evident in the novel. I loved it, and I hope that you will be able to see that as well. She was inspired by the European movement of social realism, and the French authors like Balzac and Flaubert, who explored extensively the mental states of their characters. So in the novel, there are many passages where um, we we are in Newland Archer's thoughts, um, and it's very deep how he reflects, and we can feel his emotions, and I have highlighted um, very specific quotes that I will share in a different video um, next after this podcast. Um, and uh, and you can clearly see that she manages to enter in the character's mind and describe what he feels. She often critiqued the materialism and the moral decay of her time, the social norms, the expectations, the high expectations of the upper class, in contrast with the individual desires. In The Age of Innocence, she offers a nostalgic but critical view of New York society in the 19th century. The book was Wharton's first published work after the end of the First World War and was initially serialized in 4 parts in a magazine called Pictorial Review in 1920. This is the quite common to publish parts of the novel or to publish it in short stories. And then often people will, well, authors will be able to, or the editors will then, it was a way for the editors to see whether the novel was attracting readership. And once they had published all the different parts, then they would publish it in one book. So after the war, she came to the realization that the war had changed her world for good. So the story being set in the post Civil War 1970s can be seen as a way to explore post-war changes in the 1920s. So you can see some parallels with the two periods. The Age of Innocence belongs to the list of the significant literary works that will evoke the era of the Gilded Age in America, which is a movement or an era dating from the 1970s to the 1900s. The term reflects the rapid economic growth and industrialization of the United States. It will expose the huge disparity between immense wealth concentrated in the hands of the few, while many people lived in poverty. So there is this huge disparity between the rich and the poor that can start being very evident in the landscape. High society was characterized by its lavish lifestyles, exclusive social clubs, extravagant parties and mansions, and we can clearly see that in the novel, how she describes the home of the characters and the meaning also of what it means to live at this place in this area of New York, and what it means to live in that place, that other part of New York, the old part of New York and the new. And New York became the symbol of this economic growth, this rapid economic growth. in being the first city to welcome the latest technological advancements, like the telephone, as we read at the end of the novel, the arrival of the telephone and the construction of the most iconic landmarks of the time, such as the Statue of Liberty and the Brooklyn Bridge, yeah, to name a few. In her autobiography, A Backward Glance, published in 1934, Wharton described her book as a momentary escape in going back to my childish memories of a long vanished America. It was growing more and more evidently that the world I had grown up in and been formed by had been destroyed in 1914. Set in the 1870s, the novel gives a detailed account of the old New York society, which Wharton had grown up in. And the main character, Newland Archer, is a thorough product of this powerful society. He's charming, tactful, and enlightened. Although he accepts the standards and abides by the rules of his social class, he is intelligent and independent enough to recognize its limitations. So throughout the first half of the novel, he regards his social world with a lot of ironic detachment, which is what I was talking about with humor and a lot of satire that she uses through the description of the other members, other relatives close to Newland Archer. The novel opens with his engagement to May Welland, the perfect wife for him, socially acceptable, beautiful, of course, charming, the incarnation of womanhood as conceived by this world at the time. On the other hand, her cousin, Countess Olenska, is an exotic creature. She has married a Polish count and has lived a brilliant life in Europe among aristocrats, artists, and musicians. However, her husband was revealed to be a violent and unscrupulous man who cheated on his wife. So she left him and sought refuge in New York amongst her relatives, the Mingott clan, that you will learn more about when we will start reading the book. Divorce is a central issue for Wharton throughout her fiction. She's thoroughly depicted how it profoundly defined the place of women in 19th century society, but it also reflects the radical instability of social assumptions around marriage. Divorced women were completely banished from the world of these powerful families of the elite society of New York. The only valid options for women were marriage or spinsterhood, so staying single. Once you were married, you had to stick with it. And this stigma really, or these assumptions, social norms, assumptions, lasted for a very long time, even though people were not part of the upper class. It was still maybe the end of the 19th century, probably something that was not accepted, well accepted. Evidently, this echoes Wharton's own divorce experience. As I mentioned earlier, she divorced her husband in 1913, but they had lived separate lives for many years before they could finally, well, before Wharton could finally divorce him because he was chronically unfaithful to her, and he embezzled large sums of money from her own trust fund. So, in the sense that that means that her husband stole her money, basically. He used her money for, I don't know, to gamble or I don't know what else, or just spend her money because Edith was wealthy. She had a lot of assets, and her husband stole money from her. So, not that divorce is the solution of dissatisfaction in marriage, but Wharton clearly questions the entire notion of marriage and what it implies, and what it implies for women seeking divorce. Carl Van Doren, a critic at The Nation magazine, praised Wharton's novel in these words: Mrs. Wharton's triumph is that she has described these rights and surfaces and burdens as familiarly as if she loved them and as lucidly as if she hated them. And I quite like this quote. That's why I wanted to end this episode and this introduction to Edith Wharton and her novel, The Age of Innocence, because it really is a beautiful representation or a beautiful description of what she brilliantly managed to do with this novel. And and that explains also why she won the Pulitzer Prize. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode, that it helped you get a better understanding of the novel, of its context and its author. And if you like this content, make sure that you like the podcast and that you leave a comment as well. I love reading your comments, your beautiful and enlightening comments that really helps me moving forward. It helps me to understand that or to confirm that what I'm doing is helpful. And I love reading people saying that at first they weren't really interested in or very they didn't think that a particular novel, whether it's The Age of Innocence or North and South, for example, the book that we read last month, that it's a book that wouldn't necessarily interest them, but listening to the podcast episode, the introduction episode, the podcast episode, or listen to some of my reading videos, encourage them actually to read the book or to be curious about it and to learn more about these female writers that we too often forgot in the history of literature and in school as well, because that's also a massive issue in our modern society and in our modern education, is that whether it's in France or when I was working in the UK, there are still a lot of writers, female writers who are still not studied in schools or at universities. That's why this book club exists, and that's why I wanted to make these novels accessible and also give the opportunity or at least shine a light on these writers, these female writers that I had never heard about before, or just names of the novels, but never really grasped the importance of the fact that their work was groundbreaking and um, unfortunately we have not put them forward enough, I believe. So before I leave you, I just want to let you know that from next week, we will start reading the adaptation of the Age of Innocence. So we will start to read this adaptation, which is an A2 plus pre-intermediate. So that's pre-intermediate level. So that's why you have a little bit of you have a couple of illustrations at this level, and the chapters are not so long as B, yeah, B2, B1, B2 levels. So if you have an intermediate level in English, that's definitely accessible for you. And I hope that you'll be able to join the live readings. The first live reading session on Instagram will start next Wednesday on the 13th of November at 2 p.m. Central European time, so it's Paris time. We will read chapter 1 and 2 during this session. And the first live workshop session based on this book will be on Saturday, the 23rd of November at 9 a.m. Central European time. So you can find all the dates on my website. The link is in the description of this video. So make sure that you subscribe to the book club to be able to attend the workshop sessions. And the live reading sessions, they will be accessible for free on my YouTube channel here, on this YouTube channel, as always. So you'll be able to watch it once if you're not able to attend the live on Instagram, or if and you need to or you prefer to just watch it afterwards and watch it at your own pace, like maybe pausing while I'm reading, or whatever feels right for you. So make sure you subscribe to the book club to be part of the conversation, share your thoughts on the book and improve your English, because this is how you will be able to practice your English and improve it, and also get to know new people and interact together will be amazing. So I wish you a beautiful end of the day, and I will see you next Wednesday with the first live reading of The Age of Innocence. Bye.